With the 2023 college football season rapidly approaching us, a lot of people still want to talk about realignment. And understandably so, college football realignment is not going away anytime soon. And in fact, in the next few years, it's probably going to dramatically reshape the landscape of the entire sport. Most recently, the biggest talk has been about what's going to happen with the remaining teams from the Pac-12 conference, as well as some ancillary discussion about what happens to the ACC. And while both of these topics are certainly interesting, I think there is one massive story that just is not being reported, at least not reported enough. And that is what happens to Notre Dame. Recently, Front Office Sports released an article that stated that the University of Notre Dame is looking to bump up its annual TV payouts to between $65 and $75 million per year. Now, currently, Notre Dame is sitting around $35 million per year in TV revenue, with $22 million coming from their NBC deal and about $11 or $12 million coming in every year from the partial deal they have with the ACC. Now, the TV agreement with NBC comes to an end at the end of the 2024 season. So in 2 years, Notre Dame is going to have some fairly big decisions to make. And as we move forward and the payouts for the big conferences get bigger and bigger and bigger, this leaves Notre Dame in a precarious situation. Because if they want to earn the big time money that you see with the Big Ten and the SEC, then they're probably going to have to join a conference. And this is why I say Notre Dame holds the keys to the realignment kingdom. Because if Notre Dame eventually has to join a conference in order to make that big money, the decision of which conference to join will certainly affect how college football looks and operates in the near future. Now, as it stands, Notre Dame will have 3 realistic options moving forward if they decide they need to join a conference. The first option is to join the Big Ten. The second option that would be available to the Irish if they needed to join a conference full-time would be the SEC. Having said that, though, it's the third possibility that is the most intriguing for me. I see the third possibility as going all in, joining as a full-time member of the ACC. Now, I see this as especially intriguing because it would essentially be, at that point, Notre Dame's league. You have to figure that in the next decade or so, there's going to be an exodus away from the ACC, and a handful of its teams are going to go to the Big Ten and the SEC. Certainly not all the teams will go, not even a majority of the teams will go. So if Notre Dame were to join full-time, you have to wonder, number one, how many of those teams would end up staying in the ACC? Perhaps 1 or 2. More importantly, though, how many teams from the Pac and the Big 12 would then make their way to the ACC? You have to figure that any conference with Notre Dame and 2 or 3 really good football teams is going to be viable. It's going to be something that people are going to want to watch, especially football fans. And you have to think Notre Dame is aware of this, that if worse comes to worse and they are forced to join a conference, wouldn't it make sense to at least explore the possibility of anchoring a conference of your own, of essentially running the show for the new ACC? Now, would the per team payout be as much as the Big Ten or the SEC? Probably not. But that ACC, or whatever new name they want to call it, I think would be strong enough to be considered the third and final power conference in major college football. Whichever way Notre Dame decides to go, though, you have to figure if they end up joining conference, they're going to change the landscape of college football. Either way you cut it. If they join the Big Ten, I think at that point, the Big Ten becomes the SEC's equal as far as brand quality and brand value. If they join the SEC, at that point, I think the SEC overtakes the Big Ten in terms of per team payouts every year. And if Notre Dame joins the ACC as a full-time member, you have to figure they stabilize that conference. They stop the bleeding and they attract teams from the remaining power conferences of today, such as the Pac-12 and the Big 12. And it's for those reasons that Notre Dame holds the keys to the realignment kingdom. Whatever they decide to do in the near to midterm is going to drastically affect the game of college football. As always, I'd like to hear what you have to say, what you think about Notre Dame and their ability to change the game if and when they decide to join a conference. This is Kevin in Texas, and God bless each and every one of you. I'll talk to you later. Bye.